With all the conversations taking place about coronavirus, it can seem like some people care more about being right than being human. Right about their version of the news, right about their conspiracy theory, right about their timeline of the end. But in this episode, we talk about embracing the unknown, how you can choose joy over fear, and what we can take away from this experience once it's all past. Let's dive in. Sorry, do it again. I was fixing my mic.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. This is your host, Emily. Welcome to Questions Unanswered. Still, I think we were going with this title. Finally, we don't really know yet, but I think it's going to stick for now. And we are here to talk about coronavirus and the end of the world. Before we get into that, though, I want to kind of bring our goal for the podcast, and that is to unpack what it means to be human. A quick intro on our co-host, Josue. Just so you kind of know who's answering the questions here. Josue is a youth pastor in Modesto, California. That's where we both live right now. He's from LA though, so LA boy.
That's right.
Born and raised. He enjoys soccer, plays a little bit of guitar, and does a few other activities that he'll get into eventually.
For sure.
So, yeah. And just to preface this discussion, we're not medical professionals. We're going to be talking about some stuff that we probably don't know the most about, but just our thoughts and opinions with the little disclaimer there, just in case.
Of course.
So, okay, let's talk about, what do you say? Is coronavirus the end of the world?
You know, I think it's something that's, obviously on everybody's minds right now. It reminds me of, my little sister being super kind of paranoid, thinking, oh my goodness, is this it?
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, our tribe is, growing up, we, heard a lot about the end of the world and, how it would happen and, what some of the signs would be before it. And we kind of saw some of these movies that, really scared us.
Yeah.
And
now, when you say tribe, let me interrupt you for a second. What do you mean by tribe?
Yeah, tribe. We belong to, the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. It's a Christian faith tradition. And that's kind of, both of us who are, born and raised into that. And a big part of that is, our kind of understanding or what we believe to be what's going to happen at the end of the world, or some of the signs and things that'll take place before the world ends. And so, a lot of people have been asking that question, I think, is coronavirus a sign of the end of times? And, if so, is this it? And
I'm sure people during the plague thought it was the end of the world.
Yeah, there have been a lot of moments in history, I think, that a lot of people could have described as the end of the world. And certainly I think there's something to say about the fact that the world has ended for so many people at various times in history. It is what it is right now, and I think we have a tremendous opportunity to kind of rise above the fear, the anxiety of it all. And there are moments in time where we won't get the answer to our questions. And I think, at least for me, I know that I have to learn to be okay with that. Rather than trying to pinpoint everything onto some timeline that's subjective and totally up to, interpretation, I think that this presents us with unique opportunities to connect with each other in meaningful and creative ways. So is coronavirus the end of the world? I don't know. And that's part of Questions Unanswered. This is just one response, obviously. There might be some people out there who know a lot more than I do and might be able to give a more specific answer, but that's where I'm at with that right now.
Cool. Now I know you don't have the answer of whether coronavirus, no one has the answer, that's just a fact. But during these times, some people look up to family and friends. They look up to spiritual leaders. So what would you say to those who are worried?
Man, to those who are worried, there's this really cool quote that I've had on my mind for a while. It's a quote from a book that I have up here on my shelf from C.S. Lewis, and he's kind of describing a time where they're living under threat of a bombing that's gonna take place in their community. And some interesting things, like some really powerful thing that he writes, is that, even though back then in his time, people were living under, constant threat of death, the potential bombing.
Was this World War II?
I'm not sure. Could have been. I'm not a good history person at all. But anyway, he makes this point that if for some reason a bomb were to explode upon them and bring an end to their world, his kind of advice to the people was that bomb would find them hanging out, having fellowship, just living life normally, enjoying the little things in life. And that description, and I should probably read it. This is from On Living in an Atomic Age, and written in 1948. He said, "This is the first point to be made, and the first action to be taken is to pull ourselves together. If we are all going to be destroyed by an atomic bomb, let that bomb, when it comes, find us doing sensible and human things, praying, working, teaching, reading, listening to music, bathing the children, playing tennis, chatting to our friends over a pint and a game of darts, not huddled together like frightened sheep and thinking about bombs. They may break our bodies. A microbe can do that, but they need not dominate our minds." So I think the heart of, what C.S. Lewis is trying to say is, as best as you can, continue to live a normal, meaningful, joyful life rather than being crowded and huddled together, shivering or frightened of what might happen. Because, whether it's the coronavirus or anything else, there's so many threats to our lives that are constantly that we're
just
constantly surrounded
year.
by. Yeah.
In this year.
Yeah. So if there's anything that I could say, like if anything, I would say, let's try to emulate that. Let's try to, live life as wisely, as cautiously as we need to in order to be responsible citizens, but by no means allow that to cloud our existence where we're just, oh my goodness, you've seen memes, I'm sure, of, people coughing and you're like, oh no, I got the Rona, and so people get freaked out and things like that. But I would encourage people to be wise, be cautious, and live as full and as meaningful of a life as you can, as enjoyable as you can, with everything that's going on right now, rather than allowing fear and worry and anxiety to cloud, the rest of our existence. Because if this is the end, how do we want to go out? How do we want to go out of this world? Do we want to go, trembling in fear, or do we want to go out being able to, say that we enjoyed, the last few moments that we had
safely and 6 feet away from each other? But
yes, exactly. What would you say to people, somebody that, if you came across somebody that was super concerned right now and afraid?
I don't know. I feel like I'm the worst person to ask because I'm just a pessimist by nature. But I've actually, I don't know. There's like some sense of hope when you see certain communities coming together. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen, like, museums are doing virtual tours and like the aquariums are doing kind of like Facebook Lives, or just, just like the way that certain communities and groups of people, or like even countries, sending supplies to each other or sending personnel, that sort of stuff just is very encouraging to see. I also love, I know some of the pictures out there are fake, but I love the pictures of like nature returning to the cities, or just kind of giving the earth a break. And I just hope that if it's, if we end up making it, which I'm sure we will through this, that some of those principles we've developed throughout this, pandemic can stay with us, giving our bodies a break, giving, our families kind of a break, and then really spend quality time together, not going out, just kind of filling the time in. Yeah. And, keeping the good habits we've developed about the world, and not taking our cars out as much, maybe like on the weekend, whatever it is. Yeah. It's just, I think that's, if we don't make it through, that's something that I'll definitely be glad that I experienced throughout this time, and was able to witness other people do that. But, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I think that's well said, for sure. I think there's a lot of things that we are practicing and doing right now that we can take from this experience and live through it, for the rest of our lives. So absolutely.
Any closing remarks?
Man, closing remarks.
You don't have to be eloquent. You don't have to be impactful.
Yeah, I know. Right. That's always the temptation. Actually, what's coming to mind right now is a Bible text. And if you don't come from a Christian or any faith background, that's okay. I think the advice of this particular reference would be fitting in to anyone living in under any circumstance, or from any belief or non-belief background. And it's the text that's found in 1 Thessalonians, one of Paul's letters to a church community that he started out there in Thessalonica. And it's 2 words that I shared with my youth, and if I can leave you guys with anything, I'd leave you with that. And the 2 words were, rejoice always. Now, we don't really use the word rejoice. I might be a little foreign. So the way that I might translate that is to be happy, be joyful. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if we're going to go out, I think I'd like to go out with a little bit of joy rather than fear.
Makes sense. Love it. Join us next time for our next episode, and leave all your questions below.
Yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and I'll have the little ads here on the top of the screen where you guys can, make sure to connect with us, and, let us know what your answer to these questions would be. We'd really love to hear from you, as is the kind of tradition in this podcast. We don't necessarily have the answer to every question. Our goal here is to...
Any question.
To any question, yeah. Is to discover what it means to be human.